What's up, everybody? With today being Halloween 2020 in the year that we've had, I've decided I'm going to do something a little bit different here on YouTube. So this video is not going to be gaming. I know usually all I do on here is Dead by Daylight because I love that game. There's just something about it that I really like. I think it plays into the haunter in me, the horror movie fan, where I get to act out and play as a killer, or heavens forbid that I actually play as a survivor. So I just wanted to take a moment here and come up with a list, if you will, a list of the horror icons and how I rank them. Now, I didn't come up with the list of horror icons. This list was already created. I'm just going to rank them in the order in which I think they should be. So let's go ahead and jump right over into that. So as you can see here is the list that I found online of horror movie icons. So this was over on tiermaker.com, and I thought I would share this with you. And we're just going to go in the list in the order that they gave. There's several on here that I may or may not know about. I mean, I think I've seen pretty much every movie on this list. But let's go ahead and get started. The first one we have here is CARRIE White. CARRIE White is from the movie CARRIE, came out in 1976. I've seen the original and I have seen the remake, and they're both pretty good. Now, as far as where do I rank her, let's back up here. Alright, so here on the tier list, we have several rankings. We have S, which is like the superior tier, A, B, C, D, F, and then I'm not familiar. So, if it's an icon that I think deserves the superior tier, they're going to go up there, and then we're just going to work our way down to like icons in which I'm like, why do you even call this person an icon? So the first one here on the list is CARRIE White. Now, CARRIE was introduced in the movie CARRIE in 1976, and then there was a remake that came out. She's, you know, a teenager with some angst, if you will, and psychic powers, and that never works out well. However, to me, she's kind of, if you get the drop on her, you could end her pretty quick. So as far as iconic goes, you know, I'd have to put her kind of in a D category. I know some people are going to disagree with this list, but that's okay. She's just not that scary in my book. CARRIE is not scary. Next, we have from the movie Misery 1990, we have Annie Wilkes. She's just plumb crazy. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. She messes with the dude. She kills a police officer. You know, she does kind of normal stuff. I just don't see her as being iconic. Yeah, she broke the dude's legs and she kidnapped him and kept him in the house because she loved his books and she wanted him to continue writing them. But, you know, as far as icon status goes, nah, she ain't nothing. Now, this one's kind of cut off here, but we got Lon Chaney playing the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera, which came out in 1925, and despite what some of you think, I was not born at this time, even though I feel old. I was not alive when this movie came out, and there's been several remakes of it. I believe even Robert Englund played a version of the Phantom, but the Phantom is pretty cool. He is just the dude who uses the opera house and all the secret passages and such to commit murder and to be, you know, creepy to everybody. And, you know, he's kind of a magician in the same sense. He is deformed, but, you know, I just can't really call him iconic. Now, if you want to say, you know, as far as horror movie icons, like, are we looking at somebody that's really well known? He would probably hit here in a C in my book. Next, Frankenstein's monster. No, this is not Frankenstein. This is Frankenstein's monster. Remember, the doctor created Frankenstein monster. And the doctor's name was Dr. Victor Frankenstein. So this monster is what he created, not Frankenstein himself, although we now call him Frankenstein pretty much. This movie came out in 1931. As far as iconic goes, he's right up there. He is at least an A. Actually, I'm going to put him in the superior, because there is nobody. If I showed a picture of Frankenstein's monster to people, there is nobody who would be like, oh, who is that? Everyone knows. Even my 6-year-old daughter knows who Frankie is. So, iconic, yes, absolutely. Next on the list, Ghostface from Scream in 1996, the year I graduated from high school. Now, he is kind of iconic. And the cool thing about Ghostface was it wasn't just one killer. He was kind of several killers, or several people portraying him. It was the mask and the costume that made him an iconic character. And despite me being a fan of 80s horror and kind of looked down at Ghostface for years, he is pretty iconic. I'm going to have to put him up here in the A category. That look, pretty much everybody knows who that is. So as far as iconic goes, he's got to be right up there. Next one, Pinhead, the Cinnabot, appeared in HELLRAISER 1987, went on through the entire series. He's pretty cool. People remember him because, well, he's the guy who's got the pins in his head. But the problem is, and I've seen this countless times, you put Pinhead in front of people, especially younger crowds, people who were born after 1990 in that respect. You put him in front of them and they're just not as, they just don't know who he is, really. They know, oh, that's the guy with the pins in his head, but they don't know him as Pinhead. Now, people who were born around my time in the 70s, 80s, they know who Pinhead is. HELLRAISER was very controversial when it came out. So we're going to have to put Pinhead somewhere right here at B. He's kind of known, but he's really not known. It's kind of like with Phantom of the Opera here. Phantom of the Opera, people know Phantom of the Opera, but you show them that face, they probably don't know that that's the Phantom. Next, Audrey 2. Little Shop of Horrors, 1986. Great musical, love it. One of my favorite Rick Moranis films that was out there. I absolutely adore it. In fact, I use this in my streams for when someone redeems the treat reward for my dog. The Feed Me Seymour song plays. So, other than that, though, I'm afraid not too many people know him. It's kind of I just want to say kind of sad, honestly. He's just not well known. And, you know, most people won't even recognize who he is. So for that very reason right there, I have to put him on the F tier. It's a plant. People will probably call that the plant from the Harley Quinn cartoon before they would call it Audrey 2. I'm just saying. Next, one monster that scared me. It's not even a monster, it's a demon. This is PAZUZU. PAZUZU was the demonic entity in the 1973 classic, The Exorcist. The problem is, people remember Linda Blair's character more than they would remember PAZUZU. PAZUZU was, you know, kind of a statue throughout most of the movie. He was talked about, and he was shown in a brief glimpse. And this picture right here is kind of that brief glimpse that was given of PAZUZU. So, I hate to say it, but most people would not know that that's PAZUZU. They know he's scary, so maybe we can put him here on the D tier. He's scary, but he's not iconic. Not for most people, especially younger people from, you know, people born post 1990. And that's what kind of like, I'm looking at this list. Is it iconic in that people would know that just by the look? Frankenstein, people know. PAZUZU, you'd have to be a horror fan to really know that part of it. Straight from 1992 comes CANDYMAN. Tony Todd, the guy with the coolest voice in horror, I think, next to Vincent Price. His voice is just iconic. I mean, if you hear that deep, grumbling voice of his, it's just, you know, it just is amazing. We'll just call it that. But CANDYMAN is kind of known. I know that there was another movie, a reboot maybe, coming out that was supposed to come out this year or next year. It's got moved back. I'm not sure how many people know who CANDYMAN is. I mean, this came out in 1992. He is an urban legend. He controls bees. But I'm gonna have to put him probably down here in the F tier. Just not enough people know who CANDYMAN is. Norman Bates. You guys know the movie. Psycho, 1960. One of my, I guess, original horror movies that I watched. I know it was remade and Vince Vaughn played Norman Bates, but the original is still the best. I'm sorry. You cannot beat Norman Bates. Now, do people know who Norman Bates is? Like, is he on the level of Frankenstein or Ghostface? We'll say no on that. Is he scary looking like Pinhead, and so you would know that he's a villain without, you know, knowing the context? No, he's just a creepy looking guy. Is he got the same background as a Phantom of the Opera? No, I can't give him that either. At best, he would be D tier, and I'm really pushing towards F tier here. In fact, I'm going to have to drop Norman off here in the F tier. And again, I just don't think he's very iconic for people outside of horror to know who he was. Now, we have Dr. Jack Griffin, the Invisible Man from 1933. Again, I know a new version of this came out. He has a different name in that one. But this is the original. Jack Griffin drank a bunch of potions, became invisible. I didn't know until watching James A. Janice on the kill count how many people he killed. Oh my gosh. I mean, he took out a train. He is kind of iconic. That look right there, people recognize. They may not know exactly who it is, but the man with the gauze all over his face and the sunglasses, you know, they may not be able to pick Claude Rains out, but they even know the song. If you do any Rocky Horror Picture Show, if you've seen that, you know Claude Rains was the Invisible Man. So I'm gonna have to put him right here with kind of the Phantom of the Opera. You know the look, but you might not know who he is. So we're gonna go right there. Now here's one that's kind of odd in the horror list here, and I guess if you think about it, the movie Gremlins, which was released in 1984, is kind of a horror film. It's a creature horror film. It's actually a creature horror comedy if you really want to get down to it. But GIZMO here, I don't think is, you know, terrifying. Maybe the Gremlins are to some people, but I was not ever afraid of GIZMO here. GIZMO was too sweet, and that little hum, oh my gosh. You know, if you haven't heard it, go back and watch the movie. You can find it anywhere. Just go look for clips here on YouTube. You probably find some clips from it out there. But GIZMO, as far as being a horror icon, I mean, if you're talking about horror good guys, you know, I guess people would know kind of him, which would kind of put him here in D, but he's not scary. Now we have a film that really bothered me, Terrifier, released in 2016. This is Art the Clown. Now, if you've seen the film, you probably know the scene that pops in my head. It's probably the same scene that everybody pops into in the original Terrifier film, where you have the girl upside down and he eviscerates her, cuts her in half, starting in the privates, working his way down. Yeah, it's gruesome. That's one gory film. And Art the Clown, I think because there's been so much. I have seen him in tons of things here lately. So I think Art is a little well known. I don't think he's super well known because the film was an independent film. It didn't receive a, in theaters. I don't think it did here in the United States license. So I think hardcore fans would know who he is. People who might have seen Terrifier on one of the streaming services will definitely know who he is. So, and I think his look is enough for people to know that, hey, this is a bad dude, he's scary, but they might not know exactly who he is. But I'm going to put him in B tier simply because how creepy he looks. Next, we have Billy the Puppet. Billy was in the Saw series. Oh, who he is. Let's go ahead and put him right here in the middle of the road. Now we're starting to get into some films that are near and dear to my heart. Like right here, we have Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the first of which came out in 1974. I have to say that Leatherface scares me. There is something about having a mentally challenged monster that's not, it's kind of like you almost want to feel sorry for him in a way, but you can't because he is so ingrained into his fear and kills anything that comes by, and not just nice kills, gruesome kills. A chainsaw is a scary prop. It doesn't matter. I mean, you go to any haunted house, almost any haunted house, and what's the last scene in the haunted house? It's a chainsaw, because it's ingrained in people's minds that chainsaws are scary. And I think Leatherface had a lot to do with that. It's the roar of the chainsaw. It's the fact of knowing that device can cut pieces of you off, can cut you in half. It can do a lot of damage. And I think people know who Leatherface is because of the mask that he's wearing. So I'm gonna have to put Leatherface here on the upper echelon of killers or iconic horror characters. Speaking of masks, guess what? Michael Myers, Halloween, 1978, first appearance. I'm telling you, this movie is near and dear to my heart. People know that mask, and it really helps that a 2018 film came out. The rehashing of Halloween 2, or Halloween 2018 as it's been called, really helped this character stock. And I don't think there's anybody around that has any inkling of horror movies or has seen even a horror movie does not know who this person is. And for that very reason, he is definitely a superior tier. There's been, since 1978, there's been so many Halloween films that have come out. And again, the 2018 was one of the top grossing horror films ever. So I'm putting him, he's iconic. Pennywise down here. Now, Pennywise was seen on the screen back in 1990 in a mini-series that was later turned into a movie. And when I say turned into a movie, they just took the commercials out, put it all together, and made one long episode, if you will. But this Pennywise is from the 2017 remake of it. And I'm telling you, this Pennywise was creepy. He was funny. He was creepy. He was everything that you want from a horror icon. Now, most people are like, oh, we need to see a killer that is just a killer and will go out there and just murder everybody in its path. No. You need a little character to it. You need to have a reason behind the killer, I think. And I think everybody knows nowadays who Pennywise is, so he's going up here on my superior icon level. The next one, The Ring, 2002. This is Samara Morgan. She was the creepy girl in the well that came out on the televisions and scared the snot out of me. I remember watching this with a friend and spent the night over at their house, and every creak of that house scared the crap out of me. And, usually I have solace with having a television on. Not after watching this movie. No, she can come right out of that television and get you. Now, I know that The Ring is actually based off of Ringo, the Japanese series, but this is the character from the US release. Supernatural killers, there's not a lot you can do to stop her. I don't know how many people recognize her or just see this is just a creepy girl. And so for that one, I'm going to have to put her here on the D. Yes, we know she's scary, but, you know, I don't really know who she is. Now we got the Babadook, which came out in 2014. Now, I can't really say anything about this film. I have not watched the Babadook. I know that you're going to pull my horror card. You're going to be like, how could you have missed this? But unfortunately, I just don't have any background with the Babadook. So I'm not even going to be able to say anything on him. Now, that could change. And actually, I'm going to save this tier list, and we'll come back to it next Halloween. And we will take a look and see where I think I am now. Of course, you'll probably have more on the list, but, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So, Babadook, sorry. I think it would be unfair for me to rank you, so I'm just going to drop you here on the bottom tier. Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs, 1991. People know this. Plays. That is like our song. And it's so cute, but, you know, I digress. Chucky is an iconic character. People know that character, but again, he kind of falls into that same issue where unless you watch horror movies or love horror movies, you're probably not going to recognize him like who he is. Oh, that's Killer Doll. And I've heard that many times from people. So really, he's going to fit right here in the B column. He's kind of got the curse of Pinhead, where people know that that's a scary character, and they know, oh yeah, he's a horror movie character, but they may not be able to tell you much more about good old Chucky. Sam, the Spirit of Halloween, starred in Trick or Treat in 2007, which is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. I love anthology films, and this one fits right into that anthology film series type thing. I really enjoy Sam without the little hood on, looking like a scary pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern skull, is really cool. But knew this was coming. Well, is he? How many people know him? I mean, how many people have seen Trick or Treat? Wasn't a big hit. How many people have seen it? How many people would recognize it? How many people would say, oh yeah, that's Sam from Trick or Treat? It pains me to do this, but I've got to put him in the F column. Just not enough. He's not iconic enough. Maybe if they did more Trick or Treats. And yes, I know that, which channel was it? Was it Crypt TV? Did all the little commercials with Sam in them about the rules of Halloween that you can find on YouTube? I think it was Crypt TV. I get that, but again, iconic means not just people in the horror industry and people who watch horror movies, a lot of horror movies, know him. This got to be general public knows him as well. So it pains me to do that, but I've got to drop him in the F column. All right, this one's kind of sad for me. Sid Haig, Captain Spaulding, House of a Thousand Corpses, 2003, Devil's Rejects, 3 from Hell, all those films. Great actor, scary in a sense of not being a monster, but being a true monster. What I mean between monster and a true monster, monsters are fake. Monsters are you're not going to run into them on the street. This guy was a monster in broad daylight. He owned a gas station and a dark ride, for Christ's sakes. And he was right there in front of everybody, and he brutally murdered people all the time. So, as far as being iconic, though, I'm going to have to give him the D treatment. I think with the death of Sid Haig, more people kind of recognized him, but again, he doesn't have anything going for him. He's kind of here in the D tier as far as general knowledge would be of the character. I mean, do you think somebody who hadn't seen Devil's Rejects or House of a Thousand Corpses would even know that that was a character from those movies? Creature from the Black Lagoon, also known as the GILL-MAN, released in 1954. This one's kind of iconic. I mean, people know this character, but they probably will call him the creature from the Black Lagoon, not knowing that he's GILL-MAN, or what I think is what his official title was. I'm going to have to put him here in the A tier because, again, he is iconic. People do recognize him. The Creature from Black Lagoon is just not one of those movies that people are going to just spout off the top of their head. They just know. Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, the Springwood Slasher. I mean, this character right here, he's in the same class as Michael and Leatherface. He's by far superior. I mean, he's got an iconic look. The burnt skin, the razor-tipped claws, the sweater, the hat, the fedora, the comical jokes that he later quipped. I mean, even in the first one, he had some kind of humor to him when he was chasing down Nancy. You know, when he first appeared and he put his arms all the way out in that hole, or that alleyway, so they stretched the entire length, or when he said, hey, look at this, and he cut his own finger off and the blood started spouting out. So he had some comedy to him, even in the first one, but as the movies went on and on, he became more and more iconic. And this is one that they did a remake on that I think hurt the character more than it brought it more to a mainstream audience. Beetlejuice. Huh. I mean, I guess horror comedy, if we want to get into subgenres, and that's definitely a video that's on my list, is ranking my thoughts on subgenres in horror films. But we've got Mr. Beetlejuice here, the human exterminator. I'm telling you, he was a great character. And I wish and I pray that they will come out with either a new version of it that does the old one justice, or they do a part 2 where we get a little bit more of Lydia and Beetlejuice. I love the cartoon. My 6-year-old loves the cartoon. And she knows, she'll be like, Dad, I'm going to do this. And she'll go, Beetlejuice. And then I'll be like, what do you want me to do? And she goes, you know what to do. And I'm like, it's showtime. You know, something like that. I'm telling you, people know Beetlejuice, and maybe it's because Universal still has Beetlejuice running around the park. You had the Beetlejuice review at Universal Studios until they closed it down for that horrid ride. Universal Studios, what were you thinking? That ride, Fast and the Furious, it needs to go. It is horrible. All right, off my soapbox there. So I'm going to rank Beetlejuice up here in the A category. People know who he is. I mean, if you know who he is, you know the movie. Actually, you know, when you think about it, he's kind of superior. People know him. They made cartoons off of him, for criminy sakes. Tiffany Valentine, Bride of Chucky, 1998. Chucky F grade there. Lubden the Leprechaun. Love the Leprechaun series. 1993. Let me take that back. Not the remake WWE did. Wasn't a huge fan of that one, but the other ones with Warwick Davis playing Lubden, the Leprechaun, were really classics. But again, it's kind of like it fits into, you know, he's creepy looking, but again, he's a D class. He's barely above failing. Yeah, he's a magical creature, but he has too many things going against him. You know, he's not overly scary. Yeah, he'll kill people. Yeah, he'll grant wishes and all this, and those wishes will come back and haunt you. But, you know, he's foiled too many times. And plus, nobody, I mean, you know he's a leprechaun by looking at his outfit, but would you be able to tell the movies? Could just a general person on the street do that? Probably not. Next on the list, Jason Voorhees. Now, I would say Friday the 13th is where he was introduced. He was kind of introduced at the end of Friday the 13th. Because remember, Friday the 13th, the mother, Pamela Voorhees, was the killer. And Jason didn't appear until the dream sequence at the end, or what you think is a dream sequence at the end, and pulled the girl into the water. he didn't really know Jason until part 2, and that's when he had the bag over his head and the one eye hole so he could see out. Which is actually one of my favorite versions of Jason, because he looked like a deformed hillbilly with the coverall or the overalls and the knapsack on his head and just the one hole there. And then when he took the knapsack off and the burlap sack off and you saw what he really looked like, it was just kind of creepy. But Jason is very famous. The hockey mask version, there's not a person around that does not know who Jason is. I think that is very easy to say. All right, so next on the list is probably another super iconic character that people are gonna know just because of the look. You cannot deny this one. Count Dracula, 1897. Can you believe that movie came out in 1897? That is so long ago. That just boggles my mind how long ago that was. I mean, yeah, wow. Bela Lugosi made that character. Now I know the books are all different. I know that Gary Oldman made a really good Dracula. But this character's iconic. You can't go anywhere. He's like Frankenstein's monster. You just know. I mean, look at like the cartoon characters. They all have this look. Everyone knows that's Dracula, and that's why he is one of the most iconic characters out there. And last on the list is Jack Torrance from The Shining in 1980. Now, The Shining was a really good horror film in my book. I really enjoyed it, but it's just one of these Stanley Kubrick films that's just, you gotta really want to watch it. You gotta really want to sit through it and watch what happens. And I just don't think he's a very iconic character. Jack Nicholson, very iconic. The scene where he busts down the door and here's Johnny, that's iconic. And I'm sure a lot of people have seen the ties and socks and tights and all this stuff that's been made in the pattern of the carpet from the hotel. But I don't know. I'm trying to separate Jack Nicholson from Jack Torrance, and it's really hard to do. And because of that, because of how iconic this character is, as far as, or how well known Jack Nicholson is, I have to put him kind of right here in the C category. He's kind of like the only, if you notice, he's like the only normal looking guy that fits into anything above D. I've kind of made it to where normal people are kind of down here in the D's and F's, and C was kind of like that borderline. And maybe that's why I'm ranking it as a C. But hey, this is my opinion. You didn't come here looking for scientific facts. You came here for my opinions. So that's what you're getting. Hey, lucky you. So that's it. That is my list of iconic horror characters. From, gosh, all the way back to 1897. Now, again, it's not complete. There is not every horror character out there on this list. This was a list I found on tiermaker.com, and I wanted to take my shot at it. And out of all those characters, the Babadook was really the only one that I have got no background on. So I'm going to take care of that. Probably tomorrow night, since it's, or probably... And I'm going to take care of that. Probably here real soon, I'll be looking at the Babadook. And don't be surprised if you don't see my review of the Babadook over on zombiesinmyblog.com, which is the website I write movie reviews, haunted house reviews, pop culture reviews for on a semi-weekly basis. So, what do you think? Which ones are yours? What do you agree with? What do you not agree with? You can comment below and let me know, because, hey, let's start a conversation. Tell me where I'm right. By golly, tell me where I'm wrong. I need your critique here. I need your background on this subject, because I'm going as a 42-year-old guy who's been in watching horror his entire life, worked in the haunted house industry for the past decade. I want to hear what you have to say. So go ahead, comment below. While you're down there, click that subscribe button, because I'm going to come out with more and more videos. If this one does well, if I get a lot of likes, a lot of shares, a lot of comments, I'm going to do more content like this and less content on Dead by Daylight. Don't get me wrong, we will still be doing Dead by Daylight content here, but we're going to try to see what you guys want. We're going to give you more of what you want and less of what you kind of want, if that makes any sense. And if you would love to support the channel, you can go down, click the join button just below the screen right here. I've got different tier levels. It goes from $1.99 all the way up. There's some great perks inside of there. You get shout outs here on the channel. Now, one such person that's getting a shout out right now is fellow YouTuber, my Twitch moderator, A Dangerous Mix. This guy's got some great insights out there. Check out his videos. Give him a subscribe here on YouTube. Check out my Twitch channel, and the information is going to be down here in the description below. I'm on every Monday, Wednesday, and some Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Time for 3 hours of fun and frivolity, entertainment, and information. It's fun. You should really, really come check it out. Seriously, it's fun. But on that note, this was my horror icons list. Tell me what you think. Comment below. Let me know. Until next time, thanks for watching. Take care. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you can, go down and leave a like and maybe even a comment in the field. Subscribe to the channel and ring the little notification bell so that you can be alerted on the next video here from Warlock of Wifi. Thanks.